A genius lives in his own world and is very often misunderstood. Visualizing, creating, imagining, reimagining a whole new world that doesn't exist. Through this program, we try and understand this particular genius from Bangalore. His world, his mind, his people, his inspirations.
Initially, when Shoeb went into this spiraling into depression, I could say, he's actually a very quiet child when he grew up, and then when he joined Chitra Kala Parishad, suddenly he blossomed. He found the right kind of friends. So I'd seen that transition where from shy to being somebody who's, enjoying the company of friends. And then suddenly we found this change where he was talking to himself, and one day we saw him on the motorbike coming down, speaking very loudly, and that's when I knew something was wrong. So at that time we searched for a psychiatrist. Getting an appointment with a psychiatrist took us nearly 2 weeks because everybody is fully booked up. And initially, of course, they said it's depression and gave him medication, and he was refusing to take any medication. We had to add medication into his food without his knowledge. He wasn't talking to anybody, he was talking to himself continuously. So it was such a shock to see a normal, very sweet-natured young man or young boy at that time turn into something which we didn't recognize. And initially, of course, the shock was pulling me down. I was feeling depressed as well. But somewhere along the line, I knew this child needs to find himself. And it was no fault of his. Suddenly, this is something that changed his whole world and our whole world. We had just built a house on Kanapura Road, and the doctors at that time said, you need to be closer to a place where he can meet the psychiatrist constantly. So we sold the house and moved to Fraser Town here. So the first 2 years were very bleak. It was constant struggle of trying to keep him calm, because there was a very dark, quiet kind of a thing where I don't want to meet anybody, I don't want to talk to anybody, and he would just sit down, not eat sometimes. So there was Dr. Sabani who helped us. He's no more anyway, who got him into a routine. The getting into routine helped him a lot, but his dependency on me, because we were getting closer as well as he was getting more dependent on me. So at that time I said, no, I need to break away from this. I need to schedule in such a way that he's doing something. And then gradually he started, sketching a little, doing something different. And then I said, I'll be back. I started my preschool at the time. I said, I need to be away 3-4 hours so that he's away from me and learns to be by himself as well. And with the help of the medication, gradually he started doing work. But somewhere along the line, the medication increased so much, and the visits to the doctors increased too much, and I felt we were becoming too dependent on that. So I broke away from that, gradually brought down the medication to bare minimum now. I understand his moods. Too many people makes him go a little, he likes his space. So he's got his own bedroom, he's got his own space, so he likes his quiet time. So through the day he's doing his work, and if there are too many people, then he feels that this is not his space. He wants to go away. He wants to carry his bag and find a tent So he keeps going to Decathlon to buy stuff. So I keep telling him, this is your house. This is your house. We are living with you. And we want you to be with us. And that has somehow helped him. And now he just enjoys his space. So that's why we have these separate areas where he can work and do what he wants to do more than anything else. I think the quietness of being on his own helps him as well.
This is my painting. It's called Who Goes There. It's a little bit about blindness, and what inspired me to do this work was actually a dream. So I guess it's also, it also shows the heaviness of the silence which I was talking about, and darkness. People never suspected me to be a proper artist when I grew up, because my taste was a little different from others. So sometimes I used to paint to rid the violence in my life.
So once Shoeb really started painting, and I suddenly realized there are about nearly 20 to 30 paintings which he has finished. So I said, I need to show these paintings and somebody needs to see them. I might like what he's doing, but I need to find out whether people would like them. So I tried to get in touch with galleries, and ultimately nobody got back to me. I kept sending mails, and then somebody mentioned Metro Art Gallery. I got in touch with Metro Art Gallery and put up his paintings over there, and that's the first time he sold some of his work, and most of them were friends and family initially, and they were smaller paintings. They were about I think 2 feet by 1.5 feet, smaller paintings at that time which he was doing, and they were all related to animals. So just to see his work displayed was such an I can say it was a proud feeling as well, because Shoeb is an artist and people are coming and looking at his work and appreciating what he's done. And secondly, it was a means for him to, because he uses so much of paint and canvas, he needs to have money to buy stuff, and even later on he needs to stand on his own feet. So this was the stepping stone for him to realize his own worth, because up to then it was only me looking at his work, or his father or his sister. But when his work came out the Metro, and we did 2 more shows, and in the second and third show he sold a lot more paintings, and there were 2-3 pieces, but it was wonderful to see that people appreciated his work, and only after that did we start putting things on Facebook and Instagram. Shoeb is not very very consistent in that. He might put up something with a remark, but then I push him now to, put up his work and say, talk about it. And sometimes I say, you put it, Ma, I'll tell you what to add on. So I'm also learning to do that. But making sure that Shoeb gets that recognition is what I'm aiming for now. I need to put up his work more often, but sometimes it's very difficult to balance work and to make sure that his work is displayed at the right places. We haven't had the opportunity to display it in an art gallery now, except for Metro. So I did want to do it at Chitrakala Parishad. Maybe the next step would be that to go back to his college and put up his work. And if somebody recognizes for his worth, that would be the ultimate goal for me.
And so if you look at Shoeb's paintings closely, there are animals, birds, nature, all intertwined into a single image, indicating something. They are of an alternate reality. The colors, the choice of subjects, they take us to a different world, a world that's unique, different, playful, and happy. When the world we live in is filled with so much hate, Shoeb's painting is like a ray of light. A ray of light that the world can be beautiful and positive. It can be filled with so many imaginary things and take us to a place far beyond called the alternate reality.